Daniel Sports Central, big over a college football game preview and prediction on a big matchup coming up here in Week 13 of this 2022 college football season. And it's going to be the Notre Dame Fighting Irish and the USC Trojans. Huge matchup for both these teams coming up here in Week 13. You got Notre Dame, who is 8-3 on the season. This team is one of the hottest teams in the country right now, as they've won 5 straight heading into this matchup. And they're taking on USC, who is still in college football playoff contention. This team does need some help in order to get there, but USC, this is a must-win for them and for their chances of being in the top 4. We'll be going over a full game preview and prediction on this match here today, starting with your team trends. Notre Dame beat Boston College 44-0 in their Week 12 matchup, so a solid win there, shutting out Boston College. And once again, this team is one of the hottest teams in the country right now. They're 8-3, they've won 5 straight, and this team has improved dramatically over the course of the season. Quite honestly, you could say they're playing as well as anybody right now. And I mean, if you look back to early September when they lost to Marshall at home, they of course also lost to Stanford a few weeks later. I mean, this team has really come around and they've improved a lot down the stretch. And USC on the other side, they beat UCLA 48-45, 16th ranked team in the country last week, and that was a high-scoring game. And USC's defense has allowed a lot of points this season for being a top 10 team, but the win's a win, and they're 10-1 on the season. 8-1 in conference, so this is a solid USC team. And I mean, honestly, a few weeks ago, especially after they lost to Utah, it seemed as if USC's hopes of being in the college football playoff were gone. But now that this team is 10-1 and they're facing off against a Notre Dame team that is ranked 13th in the AP poll for Week 13, we'll see where they're ranked in the college football playoff rankings. But suddenly Notre Dame looks like a significant game, and for USC, if they can beat Notre Dame here right after beating UCLA, I mean, that's a resume builder there, and that definitely you could create an argument that USC could crack that top 4, especially if they win the Pac-12 title game here in a couple of weeks. So that is something to keep in mind. Games be on Saturday, November 26th in Los Angeles, California. Trojans are the home team for this matchup, and your kickoff is 4:30 p.m. Pacific time. That would be 7:30 p.m. Eastern. Spreads going USC by 5, over under 62.5. And the FPI is going USC 65.5%. Series history, Notre Dame leads at 48-36. So the Fighting Irish do have the lead in the series. They've won 4 straight against USC and 4 out of the past 5. So whether that surprises you or not, Notre Dame has had a pretty successful history, especially in recent time against USC. Stat comparison, both teams are solid on both sides of the ball. USC's main strength is on offense. That is for sure. Notre Dame, you could say, is more on the defense. So it's different on both sides. Notre Dame's main weakness is in the passing game. They're averaging 189 pass yards a game. Drew Pine has been the primary starter at quarterback, 1,700 yards, 19 touchdowns, 5 picks. He's not a terrible quarterback. I mean, he doesn't turn over the ball too much, which is obviously very important, even if, say, you're not a major impact player in the passing game. But nonetheless, this team doesn't really turn over the ball too much. They're strong in the rushing game. That's something to keep in mind. And defensively, they're strong in both the passing and the rushing defense. So yeah, as for USC, third in points per game, this team is averaging 43 points a game. If you compare that with Notre Dame, they're averaging 20 points allowed versus 31 points per game on Notre Dame. And USC's defense is 52nd in the country, allowing 26 on average. Pass yards a game, they're 7th. Rush yards a game, they're 45th. Obviously, you got Caleb Williams, who's passed for 3,500 yards this season, 33 touchdowns, 3 picks. Honestly, as great of stats as you can ask for out of a quarterback. He doesn't turn over the ball too much. He is an extremely accurate passer, and that's something that we knew when he was at Oklahoma. And since he's transferred to USC, he has played an outstanding season, that's for sure. The lead rusher for this team is Travis Dye. However, he is injured, and it seems to be out for the season. So we'll see how this rushing game does down the stretch. But Jordan Addison, of course, is the top in receiving, nearly 800 yards and 8 touchdowns. He is definitely an impact player as well. The main weakness for USC is in the passing defense. They're 102nd in pass yards allowed, and you're going up against a Notre Dame team that isn't very strong in the passing game with Drew Pine. So that you could say that is an advantage for USC there. Their main weakness does not really matter because Notre Dame is also weak in that area. So no team really has a major edge over another, so that is something to keep in mind. Recent matchups: Notre Dame beat Boston College 44-0. They also beat Navy 35-32. That game was pretty close against Navy, but turns out Navy's playing actually pretty well right now. They beat Clemson, number 14 in the country at the time, 35-14. Took care of them in that matchup. And they beat Syracuse, who was ranked 16th in the country there, 41-24, and also beat UNLV 44-21. So, I mean, this team is beating some good opponents, and they've won once again 5 straight heading to this matchup. And as for USC, they beat UCLA 48-45, beat Colorado 55-17, beat Cal 41-35, beat Arizona 45-37, and their one loss of the season came to Utah on the road back in mid-October, 42-43. So, I mean, this team has done very well offensively. I mean, they've got over 40 points in each of their last 5 games, but defensively, this team has once again allowed a lot of points, and that's something that I could see hurting USC at the end of the day, especially if they get to the college football playoff, is this defense. I mean, if you put USC against Ohio State, for example, a team with C.J. Stroud and those receivers and that offense, which I consider to be the best offense in the country, I don't think you would fare very well for USC, just because Ohio State is such a strong team on offense. And I mean, if you're allowing 35 points to Cal, 37 points to Arizona, I mean, Ohio State could get 50-60 on the Trojans unless USC's defense had a really good day. So I could see that coming back to bite USC, especially if they end up getting into the college football playoff, which is a possibility. That's a growing possibility right now, considering the chaos that is happening at the top of the rankings. I mean, Tennessee is out, so that's a huge thing for USC right now. And I mean, obviously you got LSU that's creeping into the picture here, but USC is a one-loss Pac-12 champion. I might put USC ahead of LSU. So, I mean, it's especially, I mean, the one loss for the Trojans is against a good Utah team. So, I mean, it's a lot of things to consider here for the Trojans. But moving on to your key points here, Notre Dame 8-3. Irish have once again improved dramatically this season. They're playing their best football right now, and I mean, they're playing as well as almost anybody right now. I feel like they could compete with the best of them right now in the country, and they've got a chance for a massive win before bowl season. I will say this: I mean, Notre Dame, their chances of making the New Year's Six are, I'd say, pretty much gone. I mean, if you get up to 9-3 and you beat USC, maybe there's a chance that you go in as an at-large, even though it's unlikely. But nonetheless, I mean, whoever Notre Dame is playing in a bowl game this season, I would be scared for them. I think Notre Dame is a team that is, I mean, they're hot right now. They're playing better than their record shows. And so this is a tough team to play, and this is a chance, once again, for massive win before bowl season. As for USC, this team has got potential to sneak in the top 4. I mentioned that before, that this team is very much still in contention, but you obviously got to win this game. Caleb Williams is a top-tier quarterback who is playing outstanding right now, doesn't turn over the ball very much, and he's everything that we expected him to be when he transferred to USC. And this is, once again, a very crucial game for the Trojans in keeping their college football playoff hopes alive. So that said, let's get to the prediction here for Notre Dame and USC coming up here in Week 13. And I'm going to go with the Trojans here. 34-31 is my predicted final score. Notre Dame is playing well enough right now. I do think that they cover the spread. They keep this a close game. And this is probably going to be one of the best games of the week. And this is a week where you got so many great matchups. And I think this one is back and forth, but USC gets to win 34-31. I do think, I mean, USC's defense more than likely will allow upwards of 30 points in this matchup. I feel like offensively, USC is going to be good enough to be able to score 30-40 on Notre Dame. So I could see this being like a 31 to, say, 38 or 41 type of game. But in the end, I do have it being fairly close with a 34-31. Notre Dame, I do see potential for this team to win it, but USC also being at home, I do think does make a difference. USC has been playing fairly well at home this season as well. So I'll say probability 55% towards USC. Over under 62.5. Give me the over for this one. And Notre Dame to cover the spread in the end, which is once again currently 5 points towards USC. So that's it. Let me know your thoughts in the comments below on this matchup, and I appreciate you guys watching as always. Stay tuned for more from All Sports Central. Catch you on the next one.